It is all about bonds, unveiling the financial architecture of the judicial process. 1. The role of bonds in judicial proceedings. Modern courtrooms, particularly within the United States judicial system, function not merely as forums for the administration of justice but as commercial arenas wherein financial instruments, specifically bonds, are systematically employed. Upon an individual's arrest, courts initiate financial documentation beginning with the creation of a bid bond. Within federal courts, notably the United States District Courts, Standard Forms 273, 274, and 275 are used to formalize these proceedings. Complementary forms from the General Services Administration, SF-24, Bid Bond, SF-25, Performance Bond, and SF-25A, Payment Bond, facilitate the monetization of legal proceedings through financial instruments tethered to penal obligations. 2. Default judgments and incarceration as commercial enforcement. Each bond described carries a penal sum, which represents a contingent financial liability that crystallizes in the event of non-performance, specifically, non-payment of alleged debts. Legal proceedings frequently culminate in default judgments, resulting not from a finding of guilt but rather from the failure to discharge these financial obligations. Consequently, incarceration is not an end unto itself but a mechanism to enforce commercial judgments. Legal counsel, often perceived as advocates for the accused, instead serve to channel individuals into dishonor and default through procedural manipulation. 3. Reinsurance, federal courts, and the commodification of default. Judgments rendered at the state level are frequently monetized and acquired by U.S. district courts, facilitated by an ecosystem of approximately 300 reinsurance companies. These institutions, certified by the Secretary of the Treasury, convert default judgments into marketable securities. Legal proceedings thus operate within a sophisticated structure of financial securitization, wherein failure to settle legal obligations transforms into a tradable commercial asset underwritten by federal certification. 4. Commercial paper and the role of the individual as merchant at law. All signed instruments, including court citations, promissory notes, and contracts, are treated as commercial paper under the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC. The UCC presumes that all individuals engaging with these documents possess expertise and knowingly operate as merchants at law. Under UCC Section 3 to 419, the signatory acts as an accommodation party, lending their signature and thus commercial liability to third parties, enabling those parties to create additional financial instruments. 5. Federal bond markets and mortgage-backed securities. Following the acquisition of default judgments, contractors or institutional investors tender bid bonds to federal courts and appoint reinsurers to guarantee performance. The resulting pool of bid, performance, and payment bonds is underwritten by brokers and investment banks, which repackage them into mortgage-backed securities, MBS. These MBS instruments are sold to entities such as the Bond Market Association, TBA, and listed under publicly traded ticker symbols including CCA, CWX, and CWG, circulating internationally through exchanges in Frankfurt and Berlin. 6. Legal language, drafting, and commercial presentment. The terminology employed by courts, including words like charge and count, mirrors language used in commercial presentments under UCC Section 3 to 501. Court processes function akin to debt collection operations. Every failure to respond appropriately, whether by non-performance, refusal, or dishonor, permits the court to issue binding commercial judgments. Successful defense within such a system necessitates not resistance but skillful negotiation, beginning with a conditional acceptance that challenges the existence and substance of the debt. 7. Commercial remedies, acceptance for value and account closure. A defendant may lawfully discharge obligations through the process of acceptance for value, a remedy that invokes post-settlement and closure of the financial account associated with the case. This includes referencing CUSIP and autotrust numbers, which correspond to the individual's social security number and serve as identifiers for government securities. When executed correctly, such actions may terminate proceedings by discharging the court's financial interest in the matter. 8. Fiduciary role, conditional acceptance, and legal counsel. Individuals may assert their status as fiduciary trustees over accounts created in their name. Through instruments like letters rogatory or acceptance for honor, they may request a full accounting of the obligations presented. Legal counsel, operating on the public side, facilitates communication between private individuals and public institutions. Attorneys function as intermediaries or mouthpieces for insolvent courts, while the private individual, through conditional instruments, may direct the resolution of accounts. 9. Securities, insurance, and the role of the Cesta Que Trust. All tradable securities, including birth certificates and social security applications, are assigned CUSIP numbers and converted into investment vehicles. These instruments are grouped and marketed as mutual funds, with resulting profits deposited into Cesta Que trusts. The government uses these funds to finance public programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Yet the trust corpus remains undisclosed to the public, sustaining a system in which individuals unwittingly finance their own liabilities. 10. Final observations and strategic implications. The legal system operates through commercial mechanisms that depend upon public ignorance of financial procedures. All legal charges are presumed to be satisfied through bonded instruments held in trust. Strategic legal defense demands comprehension of these systems and engagement with their procedures. By asserting one's private jurisdiction, issuing conditional acceptances, and demanding post-settlement, the individual may exit the adversarial loop and reassert financial and legal sovereignty.